Hey, Chris Lipe here with How to Sing Like Claudio Sanchez, Coheed Cambria. Lots of you have been asking for this. I'm really excited to finally do it. I've seen this guy several times live, and he's one of those guys that when you listen to the studio recordings and you hear him live, in many cases, I prefer what he does live. The energy that they bring to their concerts and that he brings vocally. I mean, don't get me wrong, the studio recordings are amazing, but what Claudio does live, he's got a very well dialed in voice, technique, expressiveness, and it's massive in terms of what he can do. So let's get to unpacking it. And whether or not Claudio's thinking this way or not, we're going to be thinking in certain ways, making different sounds, exploring different sensations in our own voices, so that we can get to sort of what he's doing. That's the drill, right? We're not trying to sound like Claudio Sanchez. We're taking cues from what he does, trying them in our own voices, and then seeing what happens. If you'd like to go way deeper with this approach, click the link below and join my free vocal course, and I'll help you do this not only with your own voice, but with other voices so that you are able to learn how to learn about your own voice. All right, example 1.
Hey, what became of my head?
Okay, now what I'm really honing in on in this example is his seamless bridge between his chest voice, his higher chest voice, and his head voice. Listen to this sample again.
Hey, what became of my head?
So we've got hey, hey, a head voice. It's a lower head voice, but it's head voice. And then with what? Hey, what? That is chest voice. Hey, what became of my head? See what I did there? I'm going between head voice and chest voice seamlessly, and I'm teetering in between without tension, without a break. The key is finding the dynamic happy place where I can be equally comfortable in my head and my chest around the same notes and drilling into that area. It's a feel-based thing based on dynamics. And experimenting with doing it like he's doing it and doing it more extreme even than like he's doing it is going to help you find that happy place. Hey, hey, chest, hey, as I close the word, hey, I'm in my head voice. Hey, what became of my head? What became of my head? Hey, that's a little bit more of a break. Play with the extremes. Play with doing it, hey, what became of my head? And blending it together like I have. Hey, what became of my head? There's lots that goes into that, but I'm telling you that dynamics is going to be what really helps you finding that dynamic happy place so that you can go between the two without feeling like it's two different voices. Next.
All these false starts.
So he does that again here, but there's a greater range that's happening. All these chest, all these false, head voice. And then he goes down to the same notes he was in chest, he goes down to in head voice. All these false starts.
All these false starts of a puzzle you can't finish.
And then he goes back to his chest. Now listen to this part.
'Cause you're missing the best part.
Ooh, that's like a little mini siren. 'Cause you're missing the best part. 'Cause you're missing the best. Doing stuff like this, where you start in chest in the middle of a word without a consonant transition or without even a vowel transition. Listen to best again.
'Cause you're missing the best part.
'Cause you're missing the best. There's this throwing of your voice. This is really fun to experiment with. The best part. The best. There's a little bit more of a break. The best part. It does a lot for being able to feel that and work up to it seamlessly, moderating those dynamics as you cross through where you feel like you're about to break, and then playing around with it. But being able to do both, and both in terms of breaking and not breaking and masking the break, being able to do both confidently and musically is what's going to get you to the point of being able to do it well both ways. Next.
Pardon the confusion, it's me.
Okay, now here, there's two different things I'm looking at and listening for. He's got this anxious sort of thing happening, and we've talked about this in other singers, Jack White being one of them, Tom York being another one. Claudio's a bit more controlled in how he approaches it, but it's this idea, and he uses vibrato to accentuate this. And really, by studying the way he approaches this anxious feeling, we can develop vibrato in our own voices in a pretty cool way by studying the way that he does things. But here, at the beginning of this sample,
Pardon the confusion.
listen to how his voice sort of ekes up to confusion.
Pardon the confusion.
It's like this half-step thing that's happening. But it's happening not as a result of trying to target pitches. It's happening with this sort of anxious, pardon the confusion, pardon the... I'm exaggerating it a ton here. Pardon the confusion. Right? There's this, which creates this nasal sound. We've talked about this before with crow. Nasal energy. We're not shutting off the nasal passage, but we're also summoning a bit of that dying cat. But it's in a lower range where we could easily hit with chest voice. We could easily do it there. We're going to bring dying cat and crow into our chest resonance and be as light with it as possible. The confusion. This is not the confusion. This is pardon the confusion. That's a lot different than how I talk. Now, along those lines, listen to how Claudio talks.
When I decided to start a band, it just happened to be with, a drummer from upstate New York. And
that's a noticeably different sound than what he's doing when he sings, the confusion. And being able to, we're going to talk about this more in other samples coming up, but being able to go dark and bright, summon this lower register mixed voice, and really open up those vowels is key to his sound. He is not anywhere in the realms of his speech voice here. He has been able to explore sensations and feels that help him come up with this very versatile, unique, and sustainable sound, even live. Now, if we listen to the end of this sample, there's a really neat thing he's doing with, I call it stage whisper. Meets, so he's already got that sound. Meets, right, that bright. We're placing the energy directly behind our soft palate. That's the sensation we want to feel as we're pushing. And then opening up our nasal cavity. But then he does something else really cool. Meets me. This is not just a let out of air. It's not meets me. He is intentionally holding back air with the upper part of his vocal tract. Okay? So that's going to be like this. Hold your breath. And then let air out from above your vocal cords, not engaging your primary cords any longer. So we're not doing this. We're doing this. Meets me. I've still got lots of air I can push out. This right here is a gateway to lots of other cool stuff that I've covered in other videos, but we need to call it out here because this is part of his expressiveness. He's not just going, meets me, meets me. It's cool. It's something we can incorporate in some different way. Next.
But if you really love me,
Listen to love me.
but if you really love
But if you really loved me. Listen to how he moves the sound around And then even on me, there's this vibrato that happens that is borrowing from this instability going into his head voice. Let me demonstrate. If you really loved me. If I teeter on breaking me, hear me break at the very end of that. Me. I need to allow my voice to rock back and forth to the point of almost breaking. And that's going to expose this neat, sort of nervous, squealy vibrato, as long as I've got these other things in place that we've been talking about. Nasality, sensation behind. It feels like it's sort of up in or behind the soft palate. I know that that's not even really a place, if you feel it, but that's kind of the way we need to be thinking about it. And then teeter up towards your break. Me. And then there's that idea that you break at the end of your note. This is an exaggeration of what he's doing, but we can incorporate this exaggeratedly and then dial it back. But if you really loved me, but if you really loved me. Now I'm adding a bit of compression, which is a derivative of this stage whisper thing I just talked about. And I'm dialing back the tone a bit so it's less in your face, less whiny, less bright. And we've come up with this neat sound in our own voice. Next. You would have endured my... Now right there is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Listen to would have endured my... You would have endured my... On have. You would have endured my, you would have. That sound right there, being able to mold and create those differences within those lines. Now, I've done this on a lot of other artists like this. You would have endured my, you would have endured my, oh, yes. And you can hear me pushing up and teetering on that break as I'm flirting with that vibrato. Oh, you would have endured. And as I let off and end those phrases, you can hear me actually breaking into my head voice. Experimenting with this is going to give you lots of flexibility, but it's about finding those little in-betweens. Next. It's like he restarts the word. It's not merely a here we. It's not that. It's here. We are using the onset of ha multiple times. Listen carefully. Here we start. Practicing restarting words like that and incorporating onsets like that can be really difficult. I recommend taking it lower, getting the tone lower in a more comfortable speech area, and doing something like ho, ho, hold, and finishing the word. Ho, 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 hold me. Ho, 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 hold me. And then working up to these more challenging vowels. Here, here. It's a lot more difficult with the E. And I've done videos on approaching the E and the OO vowels, which are harder to maintain as you get higher. But let's experiment with a variety of vowels and this start stopping these words as sort of another lick, to borrow from the guitar vernacular way of doing things. Ho, 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 ho. Here we start. Here we start. Yeah, I'm free. I'm free. Next. Now die as you sleep. Ooh, now here he's got some grit coming in, but listen to the placement. Now die. This is not, you'll die as you sleep. which what I just did is very typical of what he might do, but he's gone to a whole other level here now. You'll die! You'll die, yell! What is that, right? What? Yell! How can we do that and have a voice? Yell! We're going to start with the bass. Yell! That sort of sound. Nasal, compressed, and we're going to add more compression with the area above our larynx. So it's like we're going to be holding our breath. You'll die as you sleep. So we can actually get grit throughout the whole thing. But as we understand that sensation above the larynx is what's holding back the air as we're pushing and adding support. As we understand how to get that sound, where we're not going hard on our vocal cords, and we're not just pushing harder and harder till our voice breaks up. We're understanding that we can do it quietly. Then we add it over a bass tone. You'll die. You'll die. Listen to the rest of the song. Die as you sleep. And he kind of trails off. So if we were to really play with this, you'll die as you sleep. You'll die as you sleep. Notice how I clean it up as I go. You'll die as you sleep. We could even go more extreme. You'll die as you sleep. Even on the same note, it's really important to be able to do this. It's not like we have to go, yeah. We don't have to cover a great range. We can be expressive and aggressive and tender and sort of subdued all within the same phrase. Next. So I'll be here if you want me. I like this because it's not really singing. I love these kind of examples because we don't have to pressure ourselves to hit any sort of certain pitch. So I'll be here. So I'll be here. Right? That's not. So I'll be here. That's sort of speaking, but it definitely doesn't sound like what he has done in his normal speech voice. Right? This is elevated. And it's borrowing from some of the same placements we've already talked about. But it's not quite that extreme. So I'll be here if you... So I'll be here! If you've seen my video on Zach from Rage, you'll know what I'm talking about here. So I'll be here! So I'll be here! We want to match the energy level. We want to try to get upper speech resonance sounds and create a sound, a speech mixed voice. Yeah! Hello, everybody! That's like an Axl Rose thing, right, too. But in this case, he's low enough in his chest where that's kind of hidden, even though that's what he's doing. He's approaching this sort of dying cat mix, but it's low enough in his chest voice that he's able to mask that that's really what's going on. Even though he's not consciously masking it, it's just masked from us as the observer. Next. Oh, my darling, can you hear? Listen to how light his voice is with regards to some of the other things we've listened to. And listen to, oh, is that head or chest? Oh. Definitely chest in this case. Oh, but it's not, oh, it's more like this. Oh, my darling, can you hear? There's a lightness. There's a brightness. I've gotten my face out of the way. Oh, my darling, can you? No. Oh, we've placed the resonance backward and forward sort of at the same time. Because we're getting our face out of the way, we have this sensation happening in the front of our face where things feel forward, but we've got that wine placing, where we feel the sound sort of stopping in the area of our soft palate. This doesn't mean that we're cupping our tongue. This doesn't mean that we're swallowing anything. Quite the opposite. It's a mind thing that's going to help us be light like this, bright like this, and higher. Lots of times when guys, high baritones, which is what he is and what I am, when we try to sing stuff like this, we end up sounding more like this, rather than... Oh, my darling. Oh, my darling, can't you? Right? That's how I would natively sound if I'm not really thinking about placement. Oh, my darling. That's so much lighter and more inviting. Now listen to what he does on O. Oh. Again, he's not just, oh. He's doing the same thing that we would do when we add lots of compression to the end of that word. Oh. Oh. Like he chokes it off as he disengages his primary chords. This is a really cool expressive thing that he does. He does it a lot live too. Oh, my darling, can you hear? Next.
And so the story goes.
Now, we're going to take this sort of placement and we're going to go higher. Listen to what he does on goes.
And so the story goes.
That's how he closes it. Goes, goes, and so the story goes. This is an amazing thing to experiment with and find freedom in. Shaping single words. Goes! Yeah! This is something that Freddie Mercury does incredibly, and I've talked about it many times on the channel. And if you are inspired by the way Freddie Mercury works, you can be, I think, equally as inspired by some of the things that Claudio Sanchez does. And so the story goes! That's okay, but if we really realize the power of being able to place both in resonance, vowel formation, dynamically, all these things working together, we can be a lot more expressive with a lot less effort. And so the story goes, and so the story goes, and so the story goes. Next. Okay, this is neat because he starts with the run, 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 that sort of anxious, cartoon princessy sort of thing. Again, lower. This is not run, 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 run. This is lower, where he could normally be doing it in his chest resonance in a darker way. Run, 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 like that. But then on that last run, 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 run. It's like he gets darker and darker. He's adding more compression. He's moving things less nasal, more of a standard belt to where you feel more energy in the middle of your mouth, pushing a little harder, adding compression, and we wind up with something like this. Run, 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 run like a son of a gun. He's changing characters. And there's this yeah happening at the end of the phrase. But it's this journey he's taken you on. Now, even at the end, it's this sense that we're giving out in a similar way as if we were going to be breaking into our head voice. Run, 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 run like a son of a gun. Like that. But because we're moderating our airflow and our support and moderating our airflow with compression techniques, we don't have to get a lot louder. It's not like his voice is giving out here. He's adding more compression. He's changing his placement. He's changing his resonance. And it's very intentional, this journey he's taking you on. Run, 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 run like a son of a gun. Run, 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 run like a son of a gun. Run, 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 run like a son of a gun. Like a son of a gun. We could really take this to an extreme, right? Like, run, 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 like a son of a gun! Like a son of a gun! We can do all sorts of weird things if we know how to play with those extremes. Run, 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 like a son of a gun! Run, 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 like a son of a gun! gun, like a son of a gun, like a son of a gun. Being able to play with all these different sensations and move things around dynamically within a single phrase from a feel-based perspective, knowing how things are supposed to feel is going to give you the freedom to create the vast amounts of different sounds you want to create. All right, last one.
I'll give you.
Okay, there's things we've talked about here before, but there's lots of obvious things that I want to drive home in this last example.
I'll give.
I'll give. So we start fairly confident and we get more anxious. I'll give. Where that vibrato is teetering up, where we're sort of kissing our break. That's gonna help us deliver that. And then listen.
I'll give you.
Listen to how low this note is. You. It's breathy, but it's still bright. It's not, I'll give you. He's still very much in that you. Even though he would talk very close to there, he's remained bright. He's remained with that same placement that he would have if he was a little higher. And then he does the same breath thing that we've talked about previously.
I'll give you.
He's actually holding back air as he disengages his vocal cords. These videos are always a ton of fun to make. Thank you again to all of you who requested Claudio Sanchez. This was great. Be sure to request more. What other singers you'd like me to unpack in this way. And again, if you'd like to learn how to unpack your own voice and rebuild it, click the link below and join my free vocal course, and I'll help you do just that. See you soon.